All right, we got another amazing episode coming up of the Contractor Business Builder podcast. Have the wonderful honor of having Alex Frolek back. She is the president of Steelix Solutions. She's going to be sharing a whole bunch of amazing information about bookkeeping, financial management, and making more money at the end of the day and keeping your finances in check. How are you doing today, Alex?
Really well, Derek. Thank you so much for having me on again. It's an
Mhm.
honor. It's a privilege to be here.
Definitely. I'm really excited to talk about this stuff because I think it's something everyone needs to know more about and generally don't, it's not something you learn in school. And most people aren't going, to, learn this stuff in a professional manner. So the more information and knowledge is always beneficial. Can you tell us a little bit about, Steelix Solutions, your background and sort of what you do for your clients?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Alex, president and co-founder of Steelix Solutions. So, the other co-founder is actually my husband, Stephen. So, Steelix, Stephen, Alex, Steelix, it's a true husband and wife team. So together, our goal is we like to help business owners get their finances organized and optimized once and for all. So the idea behind Steelix, well, there's two things really that come to mind. So number one, we are passionate about getting business owners' finances all caught up, all cleaned up. In fact, this is our specialty. So catch up, clean up bookkeeping. No mess is too great for us, no matter how chaotic your books might seem. We love to help business owners get their finances back on track. So catch up bookkeeping is definitely one of our most popular services pretty much all year round. And the other thing is number two, we really like to provide specific tailored business advice, unique to you, unique to your business, to all of our clients. So if a business owner, let's say you want to increase your revenue, you want to pay down your debt, you want to stay on top of your cash flow, maybe manage your spending a bit more effectively, curb the spending, maximize your deductions so you can pay less tax to the CRA or IRS, or you just want to grow your team and you want to save up for your next hire, or you need more equipment. So we help our clients make a plan, and we build a roadmap that's realistic and achievable, specific. So the plan, how we look at building a plan is it just needs to be practical and specific, targeted. So
yeah, super important. Like there's obviously the bookkeeping and just the data and, categorizing expenses and all that stuff that go along with bookkeeping. But the real magic, if you will, is the second, set of eyes, secondary advice. You obviously go through a lot of companies, a lot of books and have a lot of knowledge that, typical contractors is not going to see things in the same way or understand the numbers necessarily the same way as yourself. A lot of new clients that I get started with, generally, sometimes they're good, but a lot of times, the books are not up to date or there's things aren't structured properly. The accounts are not right. I don't know how many times I see where, all the employment expenses are under overhead instead of cost of goods and stuff like that. So for those contractors who maybe bookkeeping's kind of taken a back shelf and, things are messy or just haven't been caught up for a year or multiple years, what advice do you have for them and how can they kind of get things caught up or back on track?
Yeah, really important question. And so basically if your books are messy and it's an and/or situation or quite behind, the advice I will give you is, first of all, just give yourself some grace. You can't skip this step either, I feel, because you need to know that you're not alone. Because honestly, even though this is, catch up cleanup is one of our most popular services, that tells you something right there, that this is a very common problem. And we actually see it quite a bit in a busy industry like construction, because naturally your focus is on the job site and it's not necessarily on your books. So I'm here to say that I totally get it. There's zero judgment here. And I think the next thing is I would suggest taking a step, just breaking it down step by step, because that's when the overwhelm will hopefully get reduced, because you want to try to, as much as you can, get things back on track. So what that looks like is just start by kind of organizing all of your receipts, your invoices, any other paperwork that you have on hand. That can be paper as well as digital, because that simple organization will make a world of difference. You're looking for that quick win, that early win. I promise you, especially this will make a world of difference, because especially when it's time to dig into the details, you working with, collaborating with your bookkeeper. And then ties in nicely to the next step is just try to actually prioritize getting some support. So working with a bookkeeper who actually enjoys, like specializes in the catch-up cleanup, means that you don't have to face the backlog alone. I will say I know this for a fact, actually, not every accountant and bookkeeper out there enjoys the catch-up cleanup. So you'll want to find someone that specializes in this, that can take care of this for you, that they enjoy this. You'll have really strong guidance that way on best practices moving forward, because you don't want to be stuck in the catch-up cleanup phase. And then once your books are all caught up, you can start to establish more regular routines with your bookkeeper. So that could look like weekly, monthly, even quarterly updates, just to kind of keep your finances up to date, nice and current. Some of our clients, we even do daily updates like in the file in QuickBooks Online or Xero, or even every 2 days, especially if they're in their harvest. It is a very, very busy time for them. But I will say that a great bookkeeper will work with you to set up systems so you can more easily track those job costs and provide those cash flow projections, because those two key things are so crucial in construction. So
yeah, I think any business owner who's been in business any amount of time knows the pain of being short on cash and having cash flow crunches and all that kind of stuff. So having, good bookkeeping and cash flow projections and just a good financial system inside the business can help mitigate a lot of that. I like what you said about having a plan, can look like a big undertaking or a, big mess, but if you kind of get it organized, you plan it out, it's like, bite-sized chunks, and we can move forward. And once you're at that caught up stage and you can look back and you can see, what your overhead is, what your expenses are, and where you are at financially, and how, the past months have been, it's really a good feeling, and can give you a lot of confidence too with your business, because now you're not walking around in the dark not knowing, where your numbers are at. You can actually see like where you're spending money, where money's going, and get a better grasp of just the whole financial side of the business, which is so important for a healthy business. What are some common like knowledge gaps you see when you're kind of training new contractors or working with new contractors, as far as like their financial management or the books side of things? What kind of knowledge gaps do you see, and how do you help kind of train or educate clients on the financial side of their business?
yeah, I love this one, because I often find that, a lot of this question is very interesting, because I wouldn't say it's necessarily unique just to construction, but I will say, particularly with construction contractors, they don't know what they can write off for their business necessarily. That's typically the first thing that comes to mind. They're not sure what is deductible. There is a full range of deductions available. So vehicle expenses, tools, materials, subcontractor costs, even certain travel expenses can often be written off.
Yeah.
And travel can be a bit of a gray area, and that is something that it makes sense that might escape the mind. So Stephen and I like to work closely with contractors, because we want to identify all eligible deductions, just to ensure that we're maximizing those write-offs. Another area is invoicing best practices. So it's so crucial that you invoice early and invoice often. The reason being is that cash flow in construction, it can be very rocky. It can be so unpredictable. So if you can set up some kind of a consistent invoicing schedule, this will help maintain steady cash flow. And that's what you want. It's going to be super important for when you're trying to cover project costs, when you're trying to manage your expenses, your spending. Also, when you're invoicing, personally, I recommend try to be clear and detailed in your descriptions when you're breaking down the labor, the materials, any additional costs, because this will prevent any payment delays. The back and forth of questions that your customers might have, if your invoices aren't as clear or detailed, that can happen quite a bit. Just one quick aside on this, the first set of books that I was ever exposed to was construction. So I did see quite a few threads, over the years, of customers that are confused. They couldn't remember what they were purchasing. So if you can alleviate that and provide more transparency on the invoice, that will really help speed up payments. And last but not least, the last often overlooked area, definitely job costing. So many contractors, they don't have a clear idea of the profitability of each project. So that can lead to them underpricing or overspending. So we like to help contractors set up systems. Dext really helps with this. So these project expenses can be tracked more in real time. So this way you can see what's profitable and what's not, so you can make some adjustments, some tweaks to the ones that aren't profitable. So once you gain those real-time insights, you'll be way more of an informed business owner, and you'll be able to reduce waste and then plan for the more exciting future growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of excellent points there. And what you said about invoicing more often, I think a lot of contractors, because they're so busy and they're still sort of, handling a lot of the invoicing and like, payment requests that are going out to clients, it doesn't get done often enough, or they've maybe set up the contract where there's like these large milestones where they have to reach before they can ask for payment. And a lot of that can go back to your process as far as like educating the client when you sign with them that, we invoice every 2 weeks, or we invoice at, 10% increments of project completion instead of, like 20% deposit and then 50% completion and 100% or something like that. And then it's like money gets really tight and you're trying to like finish a project or get to a certain milestone. Better to invoice more often, have that regular cash flow, and just let the client know ahead of time that that's how you operate, so that again, they're expecting the payment, having whatever you kind of have on the estimate also be on the invoice. So that's like, this is what was estimated, this is what, I'm invoicing for, and everything lines up, like you said, so that the client feels comfortable making those payments. So the invoicing is really important. Another thing that I want to ask, which I actually had a client today sort of ask about this, is like when to pay trades. Like if you're a general contractor, or you've hired independent contractors, something like that, what kind of a system do you propose, or have you seen like contractors use as far as like when to pay sub trades if they send an invoice and they expect payment in 15 days or 30 days, or like what have you seen work well for that, for how to pay like sub trades?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there is such variability out there. I would say I like what you just said about outlining expectations. So it would go back to, hopefully there's some kind of a written contract in place. But the next thing I would say is I've seen some business owners, what they'll do is they'll time it. Let's say if they have employees, they'll time the payments closely to their payroll schedule. So if they have employees in-house and they're paying them monthly, or more likely bi-weekly or semi-monthly, they'll also pay their subcons the same on the same rhythm, essentially. Yeah. So that really aids the cash flow. I think it's very important to remain as proactive as you can and not freak out and not stay in the reactive state of mind as a business owner. And you'll learn in time, how you operate, and how, it's that is so important when people are asking, where's my payment? And you also want to establish, how are you paying them as well? So are you paying them? Do you issue checks? Are you going to do a big batch EFT? There is software out there. We use Pluto. A few of our clients use Pluto, PLOOTO, and that can handle international payments. So if even just if you're hiring talent, period, not just necessarily local subcons for all that kind of work, that can also, there's tons of different ways that you can pay people nowadays, but I would also establish not just when you're paying them, but also how, like what is the expectation?
Yeah, definitely. And have, like you said, have that in a document, and set that expectation early with the tradespeople of like, the invoice at this date, you'll get paid at this date, and we will, issue payments however, it works for the company, essentially. Perfect. So what are like some common mistakes you see bookkeepers making for contractors, or even contractors maybe doing their own bookkeeping? What's some common mistakes in the industry for the bookkeeping side of stuff?
Yeah, so I can think of a few actually. The first one is neglecting to separate personal and business expenses. It can be really, I know how tempting this is. It can be really tempting, especially for smaller businesses when you're first starting out, to pay for personal items out of the business account. But this really does muddy the financial picture. It does make, if you're working with a bookkeeper, it makes their life a bit harder, and it actually may result in higher fees as well. So it does make it more difficult overall just to track the real profitability. So you really want to try to keep those personal and business expenses strictly separate, because you want your reporting to remain clear and remain accurate. You want that reporting to be clean. Another mistake that I can think of right now is poor job costing. So unfortunately, many contractors, they don't necessarily have the right systems in place place. They may have systems, but they're not quite as tight as they need to be. So
Yep.
having the right systems in place, it'll allow a contractor to track their costs on a per project basis. Otherwise, it's going to lead to losses. So when the job costing is actually accurate, you'll be able to see what you're spending on each project, from labor to materials to subcontractors. This
Yep.
will help you set more accurate budgets and bids as
Mhm.
well. And think of two other errors as well. The first one is overlooking cash flow management,
Yep.
in construction and even in other industries too, but particularly in construction, there could be delayed payments or
Yep.
also unexpected expenses. So
Mhm.
when not having a system to monitor and manage cash flow, that can put a contractor in a bind when bills are due, especially if payments from clients are late. Like if
Mhm.
their cash flow is tight, you don't know what's
Yep.
happening on the other side. So setting up cash
Yep.
flow projections and maintaining an emergency fund at the very least. I know we've talked about profit first in the past, and
Yep.
Derek and I are big Mike McCallowitz
Mhm.
fans. Even if you're not quite there yet, or you're kind of exploring that, at the very
Mhm.
least, try to maintain an emergency fund, because this will keep your finances more stable. And the last thing on this as well is, particularly on the bookkeeping side, when I've reviewed newer bookkeepers in the field, their work, junior bookkeepers, I
Yep.
find some incorrect categorization of expenses that can be a big issue.
Yep.
So when expenses aren't categorized correctly, when a new bookkeeper is doing this, financial reports start to become very misleading. So this really affects a business owner's decision making. It
Yeah.
can really impair it. So at Steelix, we work with a very comprehensive chart of accounts. So we really like to work with contractors closely because it's so important to set up clear, consistent categories, like which buckets are you putting these expenses in? Same with the income, and what does your balance sheet look like? The chart of accounts needs to make sense, and it needs to be tailored to your business. This way, at least you can start to see exactly where your money is going, where it's coming from, and then you can ultimately plan for the growth that you crave.
Yeah, super important to have an experienced bookkeeper who can set up your books for you and get that all organized. Like very few contractors or people who've not been trained in, bookkeeping and finances and accounting are not going just it's something you're not going to be aware of or understand, fully. And but having it all in place and having like that emergency fund, like you said, it really gives, like, at the end of the day, it's really just that feeling of like you're going to be okay. The business is healthy, even if something happens, it's unexpected. It's not the end of the world, and you're not going to have to worry about making payroll and stuff like that. It's put you just in a really great place when everything is working properly. You mentioned, systems are super important. Obviously I'm huge on systems. It's just what I do. What are some systems? You mentioned Dext and Pluto and things like this. What are some systems or processes that you found to be effective at improving just the financial management and accuracy of the books and things like that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna spend probably a minute or two just diving into Dex, because it's like, honestly, it's one of mine and Steven's favorite apps to use and to train clients on. So yeah, so Dext, it really is a game changer for a lot of people. It's a game changer for the bookkeepers and accountants, and it's also a game changer for our clients. So it
Mhm.
really does help streamline the way you handle bills and expenses while you're on the go, while you're mobile, because you can simply snap a photo of a receipt or invoice, like right on site right away. Dex will
Yeah.
handle the rest. It will extract the data and send it straight to your accounting software. So you can
Mhm.
see right there, it saves time. It does minimize those manual data entry errors. And then it does also have a fantastic email in feature. So that helps with any invoices or supplier statements that are coming in through your email. All of us, likely, we have a very busy, hectic, sometimes chaotic inbox. So if you
Mhm.
can forward these directly to your Dext email, again, Dext will do the rest. It will capture those details. And to take it a step further, we recommend to our clients, start setting up some email rules, because that way, then these invoices, these supplier statements that you're receiving in email, these can automatically be forwarded to the Dext inbox, so that you can be way more hands off with expense management. Like, let's have this app work even harder for you. You don't have to be stuck digging in there and than manually forwarding everything. And yeah, I mean, for invoicing on that side, many of our construction clients use QuickBooks Online. A few are on Xero. Both platforms, I need to stress this because not every cloud accounting software integrates with Dext, or not every cloud accounting software out there integrates well with Dext, but both QBO and Xero integrate seamlessly with it.
Okay.
And it just makes it that much easier to keep track of your expenses and also manage cash flow all in one place. So QBO and Xero are basically the hub because everything's coming in from Dext.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, QBO is especially popular among a lot of our construction clients because it offers QuickBooks payments. So that allows your customers to pay through, if they want to pay with their bank, of course, but also credit card directly from the invoice. So this is very helpful. Everyone likes to be paid faster, and this will help you maintain the cash flow on your projects. One other app that I'll share with you is WagePoint. So let's say you have, let's say you have some subcontractors and everything, but maybe also you either have employees right now or you're thinking that you would like to hire an employee in the future. WagePoint is definitely going to be, I find that it's the most premium payroll solution out there. I caution anyone that is currently using or is considering using the QuickBooks Online payroll. It's not as ideal. It's not as accurate, I find, when compared to WagePoint. WagePoint specializes in this, and their customer support is exceptional. So overall, you can see how all these systems, the idea is that you want to simplify your finances so you can focus on your work, knowing that your invoices, your expenses, your payroll, they're handled efficiently, accurately, they're all handled well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I know this is a big pain point again for contractors. I have one client in particular that we're working through this right now of like, how do all the receipts and financials and, emails and guys out in the field buying materials, like how does that all get to one place? And then how do we, extract the information and do proper job costing and, any software solution that can help with that process and streamline it, create better accuracy is, going to be huge and a big game changer for sure. And then, like WagePoint, like you mentioned, for payroll, again, the more easier you can make payroll and just have it, systematized and get people paid and all the right, like, I don't know what the word for it is, but all the employee burden rates and all that kind of stuff calculated automatically, the better for sure.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
we've gone over sort of like catch up cleanup, getting the books in shape, the systems and processes to help with cash flow. Obviously, reporting is a big side of thing. Like now that things are cleaned up and we have the financials, how do we view them and how does it make a difference? So how can like really good financial reporting help, mitigate possible mistakes and help contractors, better manage the resources of their company?
Yeah. So I think I've talked about how important, like the difference, really, the distinction between being proactive and reactive in business and how important it is. You want to work towards more being proactive. I personally used to be a lot more reactive in business, and I try every day. It's a decision I make to be more proactive and more positive. So yeah, maintaining accuracy in your books, being proactive with your numbers is super critical, especially for contractors, because it is such a volatile industry, construction. So starting with the accuracy, so making sure that your numbers are reliable, it's going to give you a lot more clarity when you're making those tougher decisions. So when your financials are correct, you are in a position to make choices that you're going to see faster success, I believe, with each project, because you're going to be more confidently allocating resources or pricing. Pricing is a whole nother, I could talk about that for hours. Pricing jobs more accurately. So the thing is, when your numbers aren't accurate, contractors, I found in my experience, I've witnessed they are paying more in taxes than necessary. So that could look like, so in Canada, right, we've got GST and everything. So that's sales tax, that's corporate tax, even personal tax if you're not yet incorporated. So for example, I've seen cases where just simply like they've just missed some write-offs or just improperly reported GST that can lead to sometimes even like significantly higher tax bills. So be on the hunt for a knowledgeable bookkeeper, because you want that person to hunt through and make sure that that person is accounting for every single deduction that you can grab. And then you want that bookkeeper also to ensure that your sales tax reporting is accurate, because you want your relationship with the CRA or IRS, if
Yeah.
you're living in the States, you want to avoid those costly errors, because mistakes can, was it Alex Hermosi? He talks about how there's an ignorance tax, right? So
Yeah. It can be hefty sometimes. Yeah.
it can be hefty. Yeah. So, and even on the forecasting side, it's about moving from reactive to proactive. So you don't want to just look at what happened, like what happened in the past. You
Yeah.
want to get, because that's just one side of the formula. You want to move towards planning for the future. So when that bookkeeper is working with you, they're going to start realizing and learning what the natural seasons of your business is. And then you can work with them on creating a good forecast. So to really help you prepare for those slower seasons, so that bookkeeper can also help you plan for the upcoming projects, your goals, so that you do feel more financially ready to take on new work, new customers,
Yeah.
upsell maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen a few construction companies grow a lot faster, proactive with their financials. So asking your bookkeepers more questions, actually sitting down and monitoring your cash flow,
Mhm.
building that into your routine, keeping an
Yeah.
eye on your bank balances, and just making adjustments based on the information you're getting from your bookkeeper and also your accountant. But
Yeah.
ultimately, like the last thing I'll say on this is really a great bookkeeper will work with you to build up that proactive mindset, because I know for me, like I think of it like I'm translating the numbers into a plan, into strategies, so that you know when you could hire more labor, or maybe when is the right time to invest in new equipment and or new software maybe.
Yeah.
So by using that financial forecasting, you're going to be able to figure out where you're short on and avoid those costly mistakes, those costly errors. And then ultimately, what's really exciting, I find, is your business will turn into way more of a more efficient, profitable business. And your reputation will also build up, and people will know you for that, because it'll become more obvious, because on the inside, it's just
Yeah.
getting more streamlined. It's a beautiful thing. So,
Yeah, lots to unpack there, and so many so many benefits, as
yeah.
you mentioned, to having, your books in place and reporting and then projections as far as where things are going and where things are at. I think a big one that I always check with contractors is the, overhead as a percentage of revenue. So, your overhead percentages, because like what you mentioned with the costing of projects, if you're applying, a 20% overhead markup or a 30% overhead markup, and you don't know actually what percentage of overhead you're actually spending in your business, you don't really know if you're actually going to be profitable when you're, bidding on projects. So knowing that and knowing how it changes over time too is really important. And then what you mentioned about also being able to financially see, is it okay if we hire a new, project manager to fill in, or a new admin person, or we, hire a marketing agency or get some new software, how is that going to impact? Is this right
Yeah.
time? Can we afford this? So it really gives you a lot of clarity to make proper decisions and figure out, where you want to put resources and money and how profitable you are, and all that good stuff for sure. So I like to ask this question: what's some of the best advice you've received? It could be about, the bookkeeping world, or just business or life or whatever. What's some great advice you received, and how have you
Mm.
used that to improve your business or your life?
Yeah, I think, oh my gosh. So I think one of the best pieces of advice I ever received was focus on the foundation first. Everything else will fall into place. And
Yeah.
actually, this advice was actually given to me by my husband, Stephen. Yeah, because in construction, if the foundation isn't solid, it doesn't really matter how well you build the rest, there will be issues down the line. So much like with your books, the foundation is making sure that the basic systems and habits are in place. So, we've talked about keeping personal and business finances separate, tracking every dollar like a hawk, consistently
Yeah.
updating your finances. So when
Hmm.
all these essentials are strong, it becomes a lot easier to tackle more complex issues. The things like job costing, cash flow management, and planning, just simple planning for the future. together. So I think that solid groundwork getting set in place with our clients. Once that's in place, Stephen and I, we feel a lot more confident when we're diving into helping our clients with stuff that's more higher level, stuff that they've shared with us, even in that initial conversation about their goals, their dreams for the future for their business. Some of our clients, they really want to maximize their profit. They're planning for the next tier of income. They really want to, I guess, level up in that way. And just also, honestly, simply just granting our clients, just business owners, is a lot to worry about. So we like to grant them peace of mind about their numbers, knowing that, we're in their corner, we're their allies. So
Definitely. Yeah, it's something I think every builder out there will understand is,
yeah.
get the foundation solid, get it in place. If it takes a little bit longer or it's a little bit more difficult to get your bases covered and get that strong foundation before you start to, try to do other things or, expand and grow is super important and is very applicable, whether that's you're building a business, building, your financial processes or, building a house. It's very applicable for sure.
Yeah.
Can you share with us like a success story of one of your clients of maybe, where they're at, how you help and, where they're at now as far as compared to when they started?
Yeah. So there's a couple, but one that stands out to me, there's one contractor that we work with. They came to us last year. Was it last summer, I think? Yeah, they came to us. They had very disorganized books, some cash flow issues. They were definitely losing sleep. So a lot of bills that were juggling. They were actually struggling to pay subcontractors on time. That was something very specific that they shared with us. Despite having a solid stream of projects down the pipeline, like they were getting more established in the industry. I think a lot of, hopefully a lot of your viewers right now, they can relate because I think, not just in construction, but I think often in quite a few industries, it can often feel like as business owners, we feel like we might be playing catch up or we're behind in some way. So it was stressful for both the contractor and their team as well. So the first thing that we did with them, and the first thing we do with any prospect, is we perform a very thorough diagnostic to get just a really accurate snapshot of their financial situation. And then from there, we know what we're walking into. We know how we can figure out the ways they could immediately start improving their cash flow and their profitability. And one big shift was implementing more of a sophisticated job costing system because they didn't have the clarity on that side. So by kind of sharing that with them and giving them ideas on that, by when they were, being able to track the expenses and the labor costs on a per project basis, it's super powerful. It's a powerful move that you can make in business, in construction, because then you're able to see which projects are truly profitable and also we found some projects where they were overspending without realizing it. So some things were missed and there were losses there. So another thing as well is we also help them set up milestone invoicing. So this allowed them to bill clients at more key points in the project because they had a tendency to wait until the end of the project and it kind of the cash flow, then it suffers and you can feel the energy of the business kind of drag down. So that results in a lot more predictable cash flow. And so they're in a way better space now, headspace as well, because it makes it a lot easier for them to plan now for upcoming expenses and their business is running a lot smoother. But I think saying all this, I think ultimately what kind of stood out to me about this client, why they ended up being successful and why they're continuing to move the needle quicker in their business is that their openness to learning and like just implementing a new strategy. Like they trusted the process and were willing to make tweaks and adjustments just on how they viewed their finances, that mindset of shifting from reactive to proactive, but also just how they simply viewed their finances, managed them. But within 3 months, it took a quarter. They had not only caught up on overdue bills, but they were also able to set money aside for future projects. So, that's kind of like, I think they're still kind of exploring Mike Michalowicz's profit first, but an emergency fund was kind of set in place because again, the cash flow was a concern. But I mean, seeing the transformation from like barely getting by to having more of a clear financial picture and steady cash flow, that's incredibly rewarding. I think it frees up the business owner. They're sleeping again. I mean, it's so cool when you can see, like, if you can imagine how tailored those systems around your finances can be and how streamlined, because with the right tools and guidance from professionals that you can trust, professionals that, like I have quite a bit of experience in the construction. Like, as I said, the first set of books early on was oil and gas and construction. Like, I moved to BC
Yeah.
from Alberta. So,
Mhm.
business owners, you want to focus on the growth instead of worrying about the cash flow. Cash flow should be not a recurring problem. So you
Yeah.
want to, be motivated about, like, I'm going to grow this thing, and it's going to run efficiently. And that's what you want to focus on.
Yeah, and good systems allow you to do that because you know that again, if the foundation is right, you can grow and build and expand, and it's not going to fall apart and be more headaches as
Yeah.
you grow. But no, I love what you said there about like there's this cascade effect of having your books in place and having a bit of money in the bank, knowing you're good financially, and your eyes are open to where things are at. And when you're part of like a winning team, your team will notice that when the finances are taken care of, your clients will feel that as well, even though they're obviously not going to know what's going on behind the scenes. But there's just this energy inside a business when things are
Yeah.
organized and run properly. And like you said, you can sleep at night, where things are at financially, and it's going to be taken care of. You're pricing properly. Business should be fun, and when you have things in place, on a winning team, like I said, it creates an energy, and everyone feels that throughout the business. So definitely, wonderful and super important. And I love to hear that success story. That's such an inspiring story because I know I've been there, and I know a lot of contractors who are there where the finances are a bit of a mess, and it is a struggle to make payroll, to pay trades, and as much as you want to be providing for everybody, it's difficult just because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't have
Yeah.
that foundation of proper book setup and things like that. So Alex, for people to connect with Steelix Solutions, connect with you, learn more about bookkeeping and your services, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely you'll want to check out our website. So www.steelixsolutions.com. Yeah, if you like what you see, like what you've heard, you can definitely book a discovery call with us. We reserve an hour, 60 minutes for this, but
Yep.
sometimes, depending on how fast we talk, it could be just a 30-minute
Mhm.
conversation. But this
Yep.
is where we learn about you. It's not about us, it's about you. So this is where you can tell us what you're looking for. And so in this introductory call, there's
Yep.
also a goal setting part of it. So this is your opportunity to tell us where you want your business to go in the future. We'll provide some feedback on how to get there, but this call is basically just for us to get to know each other and to see if there's a way to partner together. And another way of checking us out is actually lately I've been going live on my personal Facebook quite a
Yeah. Hmm.
bit.
I know
Um,
you've been active there. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I really enjoy going live on
Hmm.
Facebook, just on my personal Facebook. So I talk a lot
Yeah.
about all of this, about cash flow on there,
Hmm.
profitability, definitely some business mistakes to avoid, just things that I'm witnessing right now. The economy, it's not easy to be a business owner, but especially if the economy is getting tighter and things are getting more expensive. So yeah, feel free to search me up on Facebook. You'll find
Yeah.
me. Those Facebook lives are public. Um,
Hmm.
we'll likely end up sharing the popular ones on our YouTube channel soon as
Hmm.
well. So
Yeah.
yeah, a little.
Perfect. So yeah, we'll put the links in the description below. Whether you're watching or listening to this, whatever platform, check out the description. We'll have links in there to connect with Alex and hop on a discovery call or check out the content. Definitely, want to take advantage of all the great information out there and jumping on a call. Any final words of wisdom or thoughts for our listeners and viewers out there?
Yeah, I think just to kind of finish this off, really, I think I just want to remind business owners that when you're hiring a bookkeeper, you're bringing someone into the heart of your business. Like, this is a role that goes beyond just like, is this bookkeeper competent with your? No, no, no. It's not just are they competent with numbers. It's about finding someone that you can genuinely trust, connect with,
Hmm.
that you click with. So I mean, I don't think this is said out there enough in the bookkeeping and accounting space. People always talk about the hard skills, like, are they competent? Are they qualified? Of course, all that's important. That should be the standard. But you also want to look for qualities like honesty, compassion, and accountability. So, I have no problem owning up to mistakes and saying sorry and everything. You want to make sure that this person owns up to mistakes and is accountable. You want to find someone that works with you, collaborates with you to make things right because they're in your numbers all day, every day. It's so essential for a more long-lasting, solid working relationship. You don't really want to find yourself bouncing bouncing, and I see this in other industries too. You don't want to see yourself bouncing between bookkeeper and accountant too often. That gets very expensive and it's a bit jarring, I think. So keep the faith. You'll find your rhythm because I always find this, like, running a business, it takes way more than motivation. Like, it's actually not about the motivation, I find. It requires a lot. It's more about the discipline and the focus,
Yeah.
especially on the days when motivation is low. Like, many times I don't feel like I want to do certain tasks, but I do it because it's important for Steelix. And that's one other thing I'm going to share with you. One of the biggest traps is doing only the tasks that you want to do rather than what your business needs. So just make sure you're paying attention to essential areas like your finances, because yes, they're not the most exciting part of the job. I mean, I'm a bookkeeper and it can be a little mundane for me, but in the end, it's the focus, and you got to be willing to tackle the challenging, the unsexy parts of the business, because you want to keep it on track. And ultimately, you're, guaranteed you're going to see that success when you do. So, yeah.
Yes, well said. And yeah, the bookkeeper, it's an integral part of a business. It's an integral relationship. And it's more than just, data entry or, keeping things on track there. It's really like such an important part, as you said. And so intimate with the business as far as like they're going to see your numbers, they're going to see what's going on in the business. You want to be able to have those open conversations with them and get that knowledge. So thanks so much for coming on here, Alex. Super appreciate you for sharing your knowledge and just helping us out with learning more of better ways to manage our finances. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me on again. It was so much fun.